extreme basics of Windows 10 and what you need to know basically to use it for calling. We're going to work on file management, how you can move your files to put them where you need them, how you can know where they are. Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the differences between Windows 10 and other Windows operating systems, in case you've ever used other computers before, or other Windows computers. So the first thing is the Start menu. We have our Start menu back. In Windows 7 we had a Start menu, but it looked quite a bit different. In Windows 8 we had a full-size Start screen that took up the whole screen with these boxes like this. In Windows 7 we had icons that sort of looked like this, but in Windows 10 we have this sidebar over here with boxes, and this is how you normally open apps. If we wanted to right-click one of these, we can get options based on that particular app. So this unpin from Start thing means, would I like to remove it from my Start menu? Anything over on the right side I can move around by clicking and dragging, or I can remove it from the Start menu. But the things over here on the left they're fixed, they can't be moved. Alright, so if we go down to this All Apps section on the bottom left, we can basically see all the apps that are on the computer, or programs. It's another name for programs. And we can scroll through them, and if we wanted to add one of them to the Start menu, we would go ahead and right-click it to get that Options menu and hit Pin to Start. And then we can click it and drag it to where we want. Now you can also do this same thing for the taskbar. This whole bar down here at the bottom is called the taskbar. And you can see that there's already little icons here. If we wanted to add something to the taskbar, we could just go find an app, or we could choose one from our Start menu. I'm going to pick one from over here. And we could right-click it and we go to More. You have to go to More first, and then hit Pin to Taskbar, and then it'll show up down here. Alright, so if we wanted to find something, and we wanted to be a little bit faster than going through the All Apps and scrolling through to try to find that app, we could just open our Start menu, and in Windows 10 you can just start typing right here. And if I wanted to find Settings, I would just type in Settings, and then go ahead and right-click that and hit Pin to Taskbar, so I can keep it somewhere that's available to me. I could also do the same thing with anything I see over here on the left. Since the things on the left, they can change, they're not always there. So if I wanted something to stay there, I could hit right-click, More, Pin to Taskbar, or I could hit Pin to Start. So for example, if I wanted File Explorer down here to stay on the Start menu, I could hit right-click, and it'll give me all the options there are based on this particular item. And I could go to Pin to Start, and then drag that to where I want it to be. I'm also going, can also rearrange things.
So can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
As you're going? Is it a benefit to put it down at the bottom on the taskbar?
Yes, because if you don't want to have, if it's something you use all the time, you don't want to have to open the Start menu every time you have to find that particular item. You might want to just see it. Like for example, if I have a whole bunch of things open, and I don't want to have to, go away from whatever I'm doing, I just want to be able to see that icon and open it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, so, let's see, the next thing is, so right-click options. So basically, yeah, anything you click, including if you have a program open, generally in Windows when you right-click it, you'll get a list of options. Anything you want to do with that, you should get a list of options. Alright, so task view. Okay, so if I have a whole bunch of apps open, and I wanted to see them all at the same time, but some of them are full screened like this, if I just want to see everything that there is, down here between the icons, the regular icons, and our search bar, I have something called Task View. And when I click on that, it shows me everything, all the different tasks that are in use right now. And then I can go ahead and select one of them, and it'll open that one up. Okay, Action Center. So, hold on just a second. This icon down here on the lower right, if you can see that, is called Action Center. And if you click on that, you basically get a miniature settings list, all the different settings that you might want to use for example, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, or then there's also a link to all settings. And then over here on the top, we'll have any new notifications that the computer might want to give you. So that's basically a faster way to open a particular setting that you might not want to go into your settings app for.
How did you just hide that thing?
I just click away from it, click somewhere out of it,
Oh, okay.
and it'll just disappear. Let's see, show desktop. Okay, so if I have more apps open again, and if I don't want to see this right now, or if I have a lot of things minimized and next to each other and stuff, and if I just want to see what's in the background for some reason, then I can drag my mouse to the lower right corner, and I can click that box in that lower right corner, and it'll minimize them all. And then I can click it again, and it'll bring them all back up. Also, I can hover my mouse over that box, and it'll show me what the desktop would look like without it. And a use for that might be just because you want to see what your picture in the background is right now or whatever. Alright, so Snap Assist. This is one of my favorite things about Windows 10. If I have a lot of apps open but I'm working with all of them at the same time, if I click the top of one of these apps, I can drag it around. But if I pull it to the top of the screen or any of the sides of the screen, it will take up a portion of the screen. So if I drag it to the top of the screen, it will full screen it, and then I can drag it back down to undo that. But if I drag it to the side of the screen, it will take up 1/2 of the screen, and then it'll ask me what I want to fill with the other side of the screen. And I can just click one of these and it'll take up the other side. But if I drag it to a corner of the screen, then it'll take up 1/4 of the screen. So, and then it'll ask me what I want to fill in with that other section. So I can fill up all 4 corners of the screen with different things. And this particularly works if you have a big screen, but you know, it's useful for a lot of different things. And if you're working with 4 apps at a time, and you're like taking notes in one and doing work in the other, it's very helpful.
Christian, would you go over that whole thing again on putting 4?
Yes, sure. So if I have 4 apps open, or even 3, if you drag something to the top of the screen, it will full screen it, and then I can undo that by minimizing it. If I drag it to the side of the screen, any of the sides, it will take up 1/2 of the screen, and I can drag this down and show that again. And then if I drag it to a corner of the screen, upper or lower corner of the screen, then it'll take up 1/4 of the screen.
Because I've dragged something up to the top to get it out of the way, and all of a sudden it's
At full screen,
but
right.
it's not what I want. I just want it out of the way. Yeah.
If you drag it to the bottom or put it like right there, then it won't do that. The bottom of the screen doesn't do any of that. Alright, so let's see. File Explorer. Okay, so File Explorer is basically the main thing we're going to be working with today. It's basically how you manage all of your different apps, and you can get to it, all your different files. You can get to it usually on the taskbar, but if you've removed it from there, then you can get to it from the Start menu right here. And the main areas we're going to focus on are this sidebar right here, and our file area right here, and this bar up here is called our file path bar, and that's another thing we're going to be focusing on. Alright, so if I go down to this PC, and this is where I normally work from, I normally work from this PC. And if I go into my main hard drive, this is the one with the Windows logo on it, that's my main hard drive. And I go into users. So as soon as you get into your main hard drive, that's like opening the file cabinet to your computer. That's where all your computer's brains are, all of its memory is. And if I go into users, so most of these, actually I'm going to delete that, I'm going to show that later. If most of these things aren't really things you need to think about or know about, like the Windows files, you don't want to mess with those. Program files, that's where all your programs are stored, but we don't need to mess with those either. The only thing in here you're really going to need to mess with is users, and this is basically a long way of getting to your regular files, but I want to show you this before I show you the regular way. So if we go into So from this PC, we go into a regular hard drive and we go into users. You should see two files. You should see your personal account file, and then other accounts if you have any others, and then a public file or folder. And you don't really need to work with this public folder unless you're sharing things with other users on the computer. So we're going to go into this personal folder. And as you can see up here, this file path bar shows everything we've done so far. We went into this PC, we went into our OS drive or operating system drive, which is the main hard drive for the computer. Then we went into users, then we went into my personal file. So if we go into one of these files, or excuse me, folders, this is the main area we're going to be working with. Let me see where we are. Okay, so we're actually going to go into desktop. Okay, so our desktop folder is where everything on our desktop is stored. So if we wanted to add a file to our desktop over here, we could click. Let me show an example. If I wanted to take something from a different hard drive, if I wanted to move that to my desktop, I could click something and drag it to the desktop, and then just move it there. Or I could even do that from start. I could click something and drag it to the desktop and it'd show up there. Now let's go back to this PC. This sidebar over here is basically all the same stuff you're going to see as soon as you get inside. So if I undo this arrow, if I minimize that, there we go. If you see this PC over here, you can click the down arrow and see what's inside of that. And if we go into our OS drive and we click that down arrow, you can see what's inside of that, and it's the same stuff that's over here. And then if we click a down arrow over here, you can see everything that's inside of that. So we're going to go back to our desktop file. And now you can see that since we've moved stuff over here, it's showing up here. So in my personal file, in my personal folder right here, if I go into desktop, it will show all the same stuff that's over here. Any changes I make over here, for example, deleting this, will change over here on the right. Okay, so one good way of learning how your files and stuff work is just basically browsing around. So we're going to take a look at my music folder and how I name my music. So, or how I name my subfolders. So if I go into my Square Dance Music folder, underneath that I have different subcategories, which are, in this case, they're folders inside of folders. So if I wanted to go into singing calls, I have all my different singing calls, and then one folder with all the instrumentals and one folder with all the vocals. And the reason I have that is because the program that I use, I can only open one folder at a time, so I have to have all the files in that same folder. The difference between a file and a folder is a file is this individual piece that you might want to use. For example, a song. If I open that up, it'll just play a song. But the folder has a whole bunch of things inside of it, for example, files. So you can have an infinite amount of, unlike a regular folder, you can have an infinite amount of folders inside of folders on a computer. But as far as files go, you only want to have so many files until you take up your hard drive, all your hard drive space. And files are the main things that take up that space. So in the file path bar up here, you can see that I've gone pretty deep into the hard drive, but I could just keep going and going and going, and I could have folders next to files. Like if I wanted to create a new folder here, I would right click to get my options menu, go down to new, and create a folder, and I could just keep making folders inside of folders. Alright. Let's see. Okay, so go back, exit out of this. So if I wanted to just kind of start fresh, sometimes I just exit out of that and open File Explorer again. Now this is called, what File Explorer just opens to, when I first open File Explorer, it goes to something called Quick Access by default. And for most of the computers at my house, I've changed this to make it so it goes into this PC, which is down here, because this PC has more of the stuff that I regularly use. But if you ever wanted to take something, and these icons up here are actually just shortcuts to the folders I've already showed you in the hard drive. So everything you see is really stored inside of this hard drive, but these are shortcuts to it. These are shorter ways of getting to that. So if I wanted to have an even shorter way of getting to something that I've found in here, like Square Dance music, I could right-click that and hit Pin to Quick Access. And that's kind of like pinning to your Start menu or pinning to your Taskbar. But if I do that, then when I open File Explorer, I'll just see it right, where is it? Right here. And because it's pinned to Quick Access. So as soon as I open that up, this is where, basically it's like a favorites folder. If you right-click something and it pin to Quick Access, it'll come up and it'll be the first thing you see. So any favorite folders or anything you need to access all the time, you can put there.
That'd be the same as like on the old one, a shortcut on your desktop.
Right.
type deal.
Yeah, and you can actually do that too. But yes, you can also you could also create a shortcut on your desktop. Let's see, create shortcut. Actually, I want. Well, I could create a shortcut, but then move it.
Or you can just drag it over
Yeah, if I drag it over there, it'll copy it to my desktop.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't exactly want to do that
No.
at this point, but because then if I change the files on my desktop after it's copied,
there. Oh, it actually moves it. You don't want to do that.
yeah. Then if they change these folders over here, then it won't change the original one
Oh.
because I've copied it and made a new one.
Couldn't you right click on the desktop and then just say create shortcut and then do it that way?
Oh, right click on the file and create shortcut?
No, if you just right click on the desktop and say create shortcut, is it not there?
No. No, the create shortcut button would be over here on the original file, because if I just said it over here, then I wouldn't know what file I want to create a shortcut for.
But again, if you change anything on the shortcut on the desktop, then it doesn't change.
So what a shortcut is it's basically a key to the original file. Like it's more like a pathway to the original file. If we were to click and drag something, it wouldn't be creating a shortcut. It'd be actually copying and making a new one.
Okay.
So that's not a shortcut there.
Right. Okay. Understand.
All right. So
So how do you get it? You said something you can set it so that when you open up your File Explorer, it immediately goes to PC,
Right.
PC rather than
I was going to
something
say that. I
else.
forgot. Sorry.
How
So
do you do that?
So the way you do that is when you open File Explorer, you can right-click on Quick Access and hit Options. And then you hit Open File Explorer to this PC and hit Apply. And then when you open it up the next time, it'll go straight to this PC. Now, I'm not sure which I would personally recommend, because I do like this feature, I just haven't got used to it. So that's why I go to this PC. And this PC is basically the equivalent to my computer for like Windows XP or Windows Vista or whatever. So it's where you can see everything that you had before. Let's see. So going through the hard drive, if I go into something, into a folder and into a subfolder, it's basically the long way of opening File Explorer, hitting this PC, and just going to music. So that was a shortcut there. This is actually the same file, or same folder that was in the hard drive when we went through the hard drive to find it. But that was a shortcut to get here. Alright, so if I went into my Square Dance music, and the way I like to name my Square Dance folders is basically by category, then subcategory, then subcategory. And I'm going to show you that in a PowerPoint real quick. Hold on. Alright, so I have the main hard drive, and if I go into users, and then your personal folder, whatever your name is, or your personal file, folder, you should see downloads, documents, music, videos, and pictures, and maybe some other things. So when I go into OS, users, I'm going to use Snap Assist real quick. By the way, this feature is called Snap Assist when you snap it to the side. So I'm going to go into users, then my personal folder, and then I have all these different options and more. For example, these options that I have down here are right here, right here, right here, but I also have quite a few more. But these ones are mainly the important ones. Also underneath that I have square dance music, and then I've got scene calls, patter, lyrics, all patter, all vocals, all instrumentals.
So when you do this, are you creating the graph?
Am I creating this graph?
Your folder structures, like it says, you start at the top and it's got yada yada yada. You get the square dance music. Do you add in the singing calls and the
Right,
lines,
I do.
the patter and that?
Yes, and I'm about to show you how to do that, making the new
Oh,
folders.
sorry.
No, that's okay. So if I go back into this PC and I go to music, square dance music. Actually, let's work with pictures real quick because I've already done this all for my square dance music. So if I have, for example, let's create a new folder right here. If I have all my pictures in one folder, the way I would create a folder for inside of it was, well, for pictures I would probably go by year first. That'd be my first subcategory is year. So this year is 2016. So the way I do that is I right click to get my menu. I go down to new and I click folder, and then it'll ask me to name it, and I write 2016. And then underneath that I would go in and create a new, because I might put other years next to this. So underneath that I would probably do the month if I take a lot of pictures. Otherwise I might just put the pictures there. But for example, December, I would probably just put the month and then underscore 2016 maybe, or I could just do the whole month, or I could just, you can do it how you want, just making sure that you break it into subcategories, especially if you use a lot of files. And then this is where I put my actual individual folders. So another feature about Windows 10 that I like is called the ribbon, or options ribbon. And the way you get to that, let me select a file first. The way you get to the ribbon is click any of these buttons at the top. The home, share, view, or play button. Let's start with play. If I click that, it'll give me options that I might want to do based on this file. And if I click home, it gives me other options that I might want to do. Basically everything up here is options based on this particular file. So if I hit move to, or copy to, or delete, or rename, those are basically all the same options that I would get as if I were to right-click it. So if I right-click the file, then I'll get the same, cut, copy, create shortcut, delete, and rename. And I'll talk about what cut and copy and pasting are and how those all work. But another thing I want to touch on is how to get the ribbon to stay there. So if I click home and I see these options, but I want them to automatically come down every time I click on a file, I come over here to the right, and there's a little pin button right there, and I just click on that. and it pins the whole thing there, and now that'll stay there for whatever file I select. And then if I deselect one, then some of these options will go away. So if I wanted to move something from a thumb drive or an external drive to my regular hard drive with music on it, I would, first of all, I'd open up that drive. But personally, I would snap it to one side, click and drag it to one side, and then open up my desktop. Oops. If I try to open this PC twice, then it'll just open up the original because I'm in the same place. So let me open up my drive first, then put it over here on this side. And then let me open up my destination and snap it to that side. Okay, so first I'm going to find my destination folder. And I have a couple of singing calls that I want to put back over here. And as you can see, I already have them here. So I'm just going to delete these. If I wanted to copy and paste them, what I would do is I would select what I want to copy and paste. So we're going to start off with the first three. We'll go Amarillo morning. The way you select more than one is you hold the control key down and you click whichever ones you want. So, and then when you're done clicking, you can release the control key. And then if you want to deselect them, you can click out of that. You can click anywhere else. But if you wanted to select them all at the same time, you could click the top one, hold the shift key, and click the next one, or click wherever you want your selection to end, and it will select everything between them. And then I could right click, hit copy, come over here and right click and hit paste. Now there's also keyboard shortcuts for these. If I wanted to select all of these, or select this one maybe, and copy it, I could just hit Control C. I would hold the Control button down and hit C, and that stands for copy. And come over here, click somewhere. Oops. Click somewhere and hit, well actually I could, first of all I could right click something and hit paste anywhere. I could hit Control V, which is the keyboard shortcut for pasting, or I could come up here to the ribbon and hit paste. So for most things I want to do as far as copying and pasting goes, there's three different ways of doing it. There's the ribbon, there's right clicking, and there's keyboard shortcuts usually for copying and pasting. So I'm going to use this ribbon button up here, and it'll copy it. Now if I wanted to, let's get rid of all of these again so I can use this example again. So I'm going to hit the shift button and select the bottom one, and it will select everything between them. Selected the top, shift button, selected the bottom. Now I'm going to right click and hit delete.
That's my favorite button.
So if I wanted to do something else called cutting them, what that does is it copies them, but it deletes the originals. So if I wanted to move something from one side to the other, but I didn't want the originals to stay there, I would do something called cutting or moving. Move and cut are the same thing. So if I say right click, cut, or Control X, and you can think of that X means delete it from the original. And then come over here and hit Control V. V kind of looks like an arrow down. We're dropping it over here. Then it move them from the left side over here to the right side.
Person, if you want the ribbon to go away, or you want it to show up, what do you do?
So where that pin button was, there's also an arrow. And so I just hit that arrow to go up and down.
Okay, right.
Yeah. Let's see, what's next? Cutting, right click options, ribbon, pinning the ribbon. Okay, so sorting by. So we're going to go ahead, I'm going to full screen this by dragging it down and dragging it to the top. So if I wanted to change how this thing is deciding, let me do that first. If I wanted to change how this thing is showing me, what order these files appear in, I would come up here to the View button, open the View ribbon, I just click on that, And I can hover my mouse over any of these options over here, and it'll show me what it would look like if I sorted it that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and hover my mouse over a couple of these just to show you what it would look like for large icons or for extra large icons. That's the different ways of displaying them. If I wanted to sort them differently, I have a lot of options as to how I should sort them by. I could go by name, and that would, since I name all my songs with the label first and then the name of the song, that would go based on label. But I also, in the properties of each song, I add a title to it, which is just the name of the song. So if I wanted to sort by title, then I would hit sort by and go to title. And then it'll go in alphabetical order of the song, not label number. Also, when it's sorting, it does numbers first, 0 through 10, and then it does letters. So if I have something called 3 wooden crosses, that would come before ace in the hole. Okay, so this is something that...
Say that again?
So if I'm sorting something by name or title, in this case it's title, it will, the computer sorts, it shows you the numbers first, and then letters. So if these songs are all in alphabetical
Oh,
order...
okay, now I understand, because it says 3, that's the
it says
number,
three.
okay.
So like, if you had 10, 20 hold down, that's
Right.
gonna come before A.
Right,
Yes.
okay,
And if-
now I understand, thank you.
Right, and if I sorted by just the name, since it has the label number first, it will sort by, well actually it has the letter there, but I guess all the
RB
labels
comes
have,
up first.
yeah. So it'll sort by the label first and then that, but if I got it by title, any number 0 through 10 comes before the first letter.
Okay,
Alright, so this is something this next thing is something even my mom was having a little bit of trouble with. The preview pane and details pane, if I select one of these to turn that on, then it has a little box over here for previewing. Oops, you know what, let me show you with pictures, that would work a lot better. Hold on just a second. All folder. There you go. Okay, so if I have this preview pane up here selected, then I'm going to change these to list. If I have this preview pane selected, then whatever file I have selected, it'll give you a little preview of over here. So if I click through the different files, it'll show different previews for that particular file. Now if I wanted to see details about the file, instead of selecting preview pane, I could select details pane, and it'll show the details about that file over here on the right. You can only have one of them selected at a time though, so if you click another one, it'll toggle between them. Now this sidebar over here to the left, I keep calling it a sidebar, but the technical name for it is navigation pane. So if I turn that off, if I come down here to navigation pane and uncheck that whole thing on the left will disappear. And you can still do all the same stuff just with this up here, you know, going back and then going into your files and stuff. But I like to have that navigation pane open. And then there's a couple of other options, like show all folders, and that would just expand everything nearby. I'm going to uncheck that, I don't need that. Alright, so let's see. Oops, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, so if you copy a folder, it will move all of its contents. So it will, or if you, not move, but because move means cut. But if you copy a folder from one place to another, copy and paste, it will create one copy in each of those areas. So if I've got 3 wooden crosses over here, it's still where it came from. I still have that original file right here, but it's also
because you copied it,
right.
not cut it.
Yeah, I didn't cut it. If I cut it, then it would have 2 different things. Okay, let's see what else is there. Okay, so if I just a second. If I wanted to rename a folder of mine, for example, this one right here, there's a couple of different ways of renaming it. First of all, you have the right click option, because that always brings up the options. You can come down here to rename right here and click rename, and you've got your editable text area. You could also select it, wait 1 second, select it again, and then wait another second, and you can edit your text that way. So click, wait a second, click, wait a second, and then you can edit it. Also, you can select it and come up here to rename right here, and then edit it. Alright, so if I've just downloaded something from the internet, or usually anything you download from the internet will go straight to your downloads folder, right here. If I've just downloaded something, and I want to move it to my pictures folder, for example, oftentimes when you download something, it comes in a compressed or zipped folder. And in order to view them, or in order for you to be able to work with them, you have to unzip it. So the most common way of doing this is right-clicking and hitting Extract All. And that's one way of decompressing or extracting it. And then you would go ahead and hit Browse and select where you want it to go. In my case, I'd like it to go to Pictures. But I'm going to cancel this real quick so I can show you a different way of doing it. So you could right-click it and do that, but you can also come up here to the ribbon, and you see this compressed folder tools. If I hit Extract there, then I also have this Extract All button right there, and it'll bring up the same thing. And one thing that's nice about this ribbon up here is when you have a special type of file, it'll have a colored thing up at the top that's basically, it's there to help you out. If you don't know what extract means, then it'll tell you this is your compressed folder tools. So if you're just over here and you see this compressed folder tools, you know to come over here to extract, and then it'll give you more options because of its specific file type. So I'm going to hit Extract All. I'm going to put it in Pictures. So I'll go back to this PC by clicking on that. Go to Pictures and hit Select Folder. Extract. And I believe I have a copy of it over there.
And so when you unzip it, does the zip file disappear and it's all unzipped?
It doesning. It actually, the original file will stay there. So if you want to get rid of that to save space, you can also do that. Just by deleting it. By hitting the delete key on your keyboard, or right-clicking and hitting delete, or going up here and hitting delete.
And now it's unzipped in a different spot.
Right, now it's finally in the destination folder, it's unzipped, so it's actually, it's right here. And it's unzipped, and now you can actually view everything.
What I've been doing is I had that zip file, I create a new folder, and then I just cut and paste over. I didn't know you can.
Yeah, you get them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing though, with the zipped folders, if you go into downloads again, you can see that I've downloaded SquareView, and it comes as a zipped folder. That's our calling program. If I just hit Extract All and select somewhere to put it, it will just drop all the files there. It won't, I have to create a new folder for it to put stuff in.
Okay.
So, like, I'll call this SquareView, and then I can actually go into that, and that's where I would want to put stuff, because otherwise it'll just drop all the folders that are inside.
Right.
So a select folder into that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you also kind of have the same thing up here. If you click this arrow next to this PC, it'll show everything that's in this PC. If you click this arrow next to this, it'll also show all that. So there's another 3 ways of getting to what's inside the documents folder. If you're inside of it, you can see it here, and you can also click this down arrow, and you can also see it over here if you have that expanded. Just another way of getting to it.
You know, one thing you didn't mention about moving files is just a simple drag and drop.
Right, oh yeah. I was also going to explain way different things the computer does when you drag and drop. So if you have an external hard drive like what I have here, let me put some files over there first. We'll take this and, well actually we'll move it to that. Okay, so if we're in documents and we wanted to move this legal documents folder, I'm going to open a new, this PC window, or file explorer, go into my external drive. I want to move stuff from here to there. If I move stuff from my main hard drive over here to this drive over here by clicking and dragging, it will copy. But if I move it from this hard drive to something else on this hard drive, it will move it or cut it. So if you're going from one hard drive to another, it'll copy, but if you're going from the same hard drive to the same hard drive, it'll move it.
So what happens if you do shift and drag and drop?
Shift, drag and drop, I believe, will still move it. Yeah, it'll move it instead of, it'll
So
basically.
let go and see if it, see now it asks you.
Now
Oh, because it's already there.
Yeah. But also if you, I believe, control,
One of them that
drag and drop, oops. Control, drag and drop, then it'll always copy. So if you're hitting control, it will always copy. If you're hitting shift, it'll always cut. Or you drag and drop. Any questions?
No.
We all good?
Good job,
All right.
Kristen.
Thanks.
Good deal.
So does anybody know how to, my copy and paste on my Windows 7 machine has quit. As soon as I try to paste something, it closes it.
That's easy.
And so I'm wondering how
When it closes up, what does it do?
when I go to copy and paste, it says something about Windows Explorer
Crashes?
has an error and it just shuts down Windows Explorer.
That's serious.
Yeah, that's
You and I go into the hard drive store again.
I was thinking,
There's,
mind you, every once in a while, a computer will decide to shut down, and I would have been thinking it's because it's overheating. There's a thermal shut off somewhere.
there is.
I have dug up an old fan laptop stand that I've been using, and it
So-
doesn't
I was
seem to work.
out, so this is a laptop?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think you probably, at minimum, it probably needs to go be cleaned out. It's probably dusty and the airflow, the airflow vents, if you have a lot of dent. What I'd do is turn it on, from a cold state, turn it on and find where the air inflow is and get some of that compressed air while
Oh,
it's
yeah.
going.
Yeah.
Just blow it out and you'll probably see a bunch of stuff come out the backside.
We just had to do that with my wife's computer. She was embarrassed to all get out, but she
It's-
didn't know, right?
It's nasty in there, and that's what causes things to overheat, is the,
Mhm.
well, either blocked vents when you're using it, if you use it on your bed or use it on something that's soft, it blocks it and causes it to
Yeah.
overheat. But the other one is just, it gets clogged with dust, just over time.
Yeah. I'm just wondering where I can
Easy.